Okay, it is 4:30. Call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the District of Tofino operates within the territory of the Tla-o-qui-aht First Nation, Tla-o-qui-aht. A notice to attendees that the meeting is being video recorded and will be published on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. A notice to virtual attendees to sign up for public comment and question period using the question and answer function in Zoom. To register for that, participants are required to enter their full name, residential address, and the agenda item they wish to speak to. Through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I'll move that pursuant to section 15 of the District Meeting Procedure Bylaw number 1229/2016 is amended. The June 13th, 2023 regular meeting be held electronically via Zoom and live broadcasted on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. And that the facility provided for the public to watch and hear the meeting be located at Municipal Hall 380 Campbell Street in Tofino, BC. Seeing no objection, that motion is carried. Also through unanimous consent, if there is no objection, I move that the June 13th, 2023 regular council agenda be adopted. Seeing no objection, that motion is carried. Consent agenda. Also through unanimous consent. Councillors choose to remove something from the consent agenda. I will move that items 4.1 to 4.2 of the consent agenda on the regular council meeting held June 13th, 2023 be approved and received. Seeing no objection, that motion is carried. Mr. Shortall, do we have public comment on agenda items?
Thanks, Mary Lott. No questions at the moment. I will do a call to the public. If anybody in attendance in the council chambers or online would like to make a comment to mayor and council, they can do so by stating their name, their address, and the agenda item you're speaking to. So I'll call 3 times, calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times, and no questions at this point, Mary Lott.
Thank you, Mr. Shortall. Moving on to item 7, Mayor's report. Starting off, I'd like to make a note for all attendees, virtual or otherwise, that at 5 p.m. The District public hearing will begin. That will happen at 5 sharp. If need be, we may move to a recess before that in order to start at 5. Mayor's report. Moving on, I think all of us for the past week of the news, and of course our community has been impacted by the Cameron Bluffs fire, and I just want to say how proud I am of staff here who have been on that days, evenings, weekends, and for all the work that's been put into that, both on the ground for emergency personnel, firefighters in the air, as well as in the ACRD, Port Alberni, and all the other municipal governments and otherwise who have been working so tirelessly to make sure that goods are arriving in our community in a safe, timely manner, that the fire is being addressed, and that Highway 4 is also being addressed. And there's ongoing updates today. So we'll direct everybody here and anybody listening online or watching online to follow official provincial announcements and updates, which are occurring regularly. Moving on to delegations. We have 8.1. We have a delegation from Tla-o-qui-aht Action Society regarding fish farm transition. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay. I know you have a lot on your agenda today, so I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'll try to go through this fairly quickly. There's a lot I could say about fish farms. I'm going to try not to do that today. But everything I'm going to present today is geared specifically towards actions that you as Tofino Council could take. So just to set the context, this is a 2019 headline from the Westerly News that the salmon returns in Sound are so dismal that the quote was, "It's not time to do something, it's time to start panicking." That was 2019, and the numbers have gotten worse every year since. The reason why: there are 20 open net pen fish farms here in Clayoquot Sound. They have all kinds of different impacts, which I'm not going to get into today, but sea lice, a really big one. The pesticides that are used to treat for lice, another big issue. It's not just about the salmon. These farms also attract herring. And this photograph was taken this spring. We found this massive schools of herring right outside the farm. And we were also able to film the herring inside the farm. So it's not just about salmon. And another thing that's happening is sea lions are breaking into the fish farms for free lunch. This is a learned behavior. It's not going to go away. So all said, in a UNESCO biosphere region, I would suggest that open net pen salmon farming isn't the best choice of activity. There's not a lot that you as council can do about that. But I just want to give you a little update on the transition plan. I noticed that's the next agenda item as well, that you've got some correspondence from the DFO about this. I've analyzed their report, and that's on our website if you want to get a different take on what they're saying. But the federal government has promised to phase out fish farms from BC waters by 2025. And I would say the reason for that is that they recognize all these impacts that are happening. That transition is already well underway. It's being led by First Nations. So these are the Shishos Nation over in Seychelles, sat down with the fish farm company in their territories and had the farms out within a matter of months. It didn't take 5 years. It didn't take a huge transition process. Up in the North Island, the three nations in the Broughton Archipelago had about 17 fish farms in their territories, and they have all been removed. That's a long story. I won't get into the details on that. We were there for the potlatch. It was an incredible party to watch the celebration that happened when the last farms are coming out. Also, the Department of Fisheries themselves have just shut down 15 salmon farms near Campbell River in the Discovery Islands. So, you know, 8 farms shut down in Shishos. I think that should say 15 in the Discoveries and 17 in the Broughton, which would leave us with 61 more fish farms in BC waters to go by 2025. The transition is broadly supported by First Nations. This is a letter from the First Nations Leadership Council supporting the removal of fish farms from BC waters. That is made up of the BC Assembly of First Nations, the First Nations Summit, and the First Nations, sorry, I can't read the last one. I should know it, and I'm sorry, I don't. But I'm going to keep moving. Broadly supported. There are 6 jobs in the wild salmon economy for every job in the farm salmon economy. So whenever we start talking about jobs, if we want to protect jobs, we need to start with the wild salmon jobs. That's why BC's commercial salmon fishing fleet and Unifor unanimously support getting salmon farms out of BC waters. So this is something that's relevant to you as council, is that right now, during the transition period, Cermak has been expanding their fish farms here in Clayoquot Sound. 2 farms expanded by 50%, 1 farm expanded by 25%, and there's an application for a 4th expansion right now. DFO will tell you that there was no net increase in production. However, that's simply not true. I can't go into the details why right now, but I'm happy to discuss that with anybody. What we're seeing is a net increase in production. What that will result in is an increase in processing at the plant. That will require more water. And I surely don't have to educate you on the water challenges we're facing as a district. The orange bars show usage and the blue line shows rainfall. And so we have that problem of inverse demand and supply at the same time. When we start looking at who's using all the water, the number 2 usage is the Cermak fish plant. This was the report that you would have received last year for the new council members. This report came in last year. 2021, Cermak was not operating the fish plant in Q3 in July and August. So if you put in what they did in say 2020, then they would become the number 1 user of water in Q3. And that impact of the fish plant is so big that all these projections for 1, 2, 3 year growth in water demand were all done twice, one with the fish plant and the dashed line above the projection. Sorry, the straight line is the colored solid line is the projected water use, and the dashed one above it would be the same year prediction, but with the fish plant. So with and without the fish plant for each scenario. That's how big a user they are, how much impact that's having on our water supply. We did a study back in 2019 on a Norwegian virus called PRV here in Clackamas Sound. We sampled every active fish farm, and we found that 90% of Cermaq's farms had PRV. 100% of creative salmon farms that were active had tested positive for PRV. We were working with the university out of Prince Edward Island. So all but one of Cermaq's fish farms tested positive. That doesn't mean that the 11th farm didn't have PRV. It means that when we tested, we didn't find it. This whole issue made national news back in 2017 with the bloodwater pipe coming out of the Lionsgate fish plant. We sampled that blood water and it tested positive for PRV. So that blood is pumping a virus into Tofino Harbor. The fish you can see in the picture, the perch were sampled, they had PRV. In Pacific Chinook salmon, it's reported that PRV is strongly associated with the rupture of red blood cells, resulting in jaundice, organ failure, and death. And creative salmon is well aware of this. They've been dealing with a jaundice problem for about 19 years. They do not accept the diagnosis that's been delivered by DFO scientists and by international scientists. They feel that they're dealing with an undiagnosed jaundice syndrome. So just to summarize on the transition, Minister Murray will be releasing her draft plan probably at the end of summer, followed by consultation, and the plan will be implemented by 2025. In the meantime, all salmon farm licenses in BC waters expire next June 30th. So the industry has been put on notice that it's not business as usual. So some of the things that you might want to consider doing as a follow-up to this presentation, you could write a letter to the Ministry of Fisheries and asking for no more expansions of Cermaq fish farms during the transition period or at all due to the Tofino water shortages. It would be probably prudent to advise DFO that we are having issues providing that water for Cermaq and that may be harder and harder to do in future. Certainly, during the transition planning, it would make sense to maintain the status quo and not be expanding fish farms. Another one, just from reading over some of the reports, it looks like it might be, and it's mentioned in the reports, an option of passing a bylaw to close Cermaq's fish plant, certainly during July, August, maybe June and September as well. And thirdly, I think there's a question here about, will the new wastewater treatment plant be able to kill the PRV that's coming out of the fish plants? So Cermaq uses a dissolved air flotation method of dealing, they treat their water before it comes into the municipal system. So it's called a DAF system, dissolved air flotation. It uses air bubbling technology. It removes suspended solids, oils, greases, and metals from the wastewater. It's used in food processing plants, for example. And then following this process, the wastewater can then be treated by a municipal plant. But these systems demand quite a bit of care. So anytime that system is down, you're going to be getting, I don't know what, coming into the municipal system, something that you might want to be looking into. And then their system is probably not able to kill PRV. That's not what it's designed to do. So they will be introducing PRV into the Tofino wastewater system. And so a question is, will that be coming out the end of the pipe? And does Tofino want to be pumping PRV into the harbor, knowing the impacts that it can have on Chinook and other species of wild salmon? So I realize I've gone way faster than I needed to, but I rehearsed this, it took 10 minutes. So I'm open to any questions, any comments that anybody might have.
Super, thanks for your presentation. Questions from council?
I'll add one.
Sure.
I was wondering if you knew, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you knew if when they switched to the closed pens, if the pesticide would be filtered through the closed pen before it's popped. I imagine there'd be some sort of fresh salt water going in to the closed pen and coming out.
There's no in-water closed containment technology currently available. So the only technologies they have, for example, right now, Cermaq is trialing a semi-closed containment system here. It's much more semi-open than semi-closed. So it's still pumping out all the viruses, all of the poop, all of the liquid waste. It really isn't actually filtering anything. It's pumping 7 Olympic swimming pools an hour in and out to maintain the shape of the bag, but everything just comes out the bottom or out the ports. So the only technology that would actually put out clean water would be land-based closed containment.
And then I have one more question.
Please go ahead.
Do you know if the PRV virus, if it goes from like, is it spread from the fish to the eggs and then?
I'm pretty sure there is vertical transmission, but I'm not 100% sure. I've asked that question myself, and I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but I can get a definitive answer and get that back to you.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, thanks for your presentation and all the information. I was wondering what other local partners or partners within nations you might be working with and what their approaches are that they're taking as far as letters or action.
Yeah, Tla-o-qui-aht is, from what I've heard, they do want to transition the farms out of their territories. And I've heard the same thing from a Houseit. We're not working directly with either government because they do have relationships with the companies. So we mainly work with members who want the fish farms out. And the numbers I've been hearing pretty reliably from a number of sources is that roughly 80 to 90% of the membership in the nations locally want to see the farms out. And that is something that the transition planning process is not picking up. They don't have a way. I was on a meeting with them last week. They don't have a way to get those voices from the majority of membership in, say, in a nation like Tla-o-qui-aht, where the majority of members want the farms out. The transition team has no way to get that input.
Okay, thank you.
Bit of a flaw in their process.
Super, Mr. Lewis. I suggest you send your, there was 3 bullet points at the end, I think 1, 2, and 3,
Yep.
and some of those may be able to answer by staff. So
Okay.
I encourage you to send those to staff, and some of those may be able to get your response.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. Moving on to correspondence 9.1, we have fitting correspondence from Fisheries and Oceans Canada regarding aquaculture transition report. Comments from council on that report? Just a note, I have I was invited by Minister Murray to participate in some of those high-level discussions along with several other mayors from Vancouver Island. Those were very productive discussions. So 9.2 corresponds from Coalition of Childcare Advocates of British Columbia regarding Union of British Columbia Municipalities Childcare Resolution. It is the time of year that we will, the council will start to receive requests for UBCM resolution support. And it's up to council whether council would like to give a council support or to simply vote at UBCM. So I can look to council to see if they would like to collectively endorse this or simply use your individual votes at UBCM.
Well, personally, with leaving it for UBCM as individuals too.
That's the general practice. I think that council over the past 4 years. So carry on with that. That's all right. Of course, very supportive of child care and childcare workers. Moving on, I think that we probably have time. We've got 10 minutes. We'll move on to presentations and reports. We have 10.1, a tender award, Cox Bay Malt v. Washroom.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council. I will just be pulling it up here. Sorry. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Sure are.
Okay, perfect. So I will be presenting a tender award for Cox Bay Malt v. Washroom. The background of the project, There is currently a single stall washroom that does not meet the needs for how many people this beach access receives on a daily basis. This new washroom would complement the old one. It wouldn't, we wouldn't be taking the old washroom that is close to the beach out. And as you can see in the image below, the washroom is on Braden Road and it is in the parking lot area. The project design. So these are two images of the project. One is the south perspective, and the other is the north perspective. The washroom facility would have 4 accessible single stall washrooms, 1 accessible change room, 2 individual change rooms, 2 timer activated showers, a covered bike rack, a maintenance / a janitorial room, and a water bottle fill station, along with a drinking fountain as well. The tender results for this project, initially designed and tendered in 2021. However, in 2021, the pricing was in excess of the district's budget for the project. And the project was held off in 2022. And then in spring of 2023, a quote from Don McGuinness Contracting was received, and it was within the allocated budget for this project. Don McGuinness Contracting's quote for the project was $690,999. Project funding. The total project budget, including construction, administration costs, as well as needed BC Hydro upgrades in the area. The current approved budget of $773,494 does not adequately allow for an adequate project contingency. So staff is recommending that the project budget be increased from the $773,494 to $805,650 to allow for the 10% contingency. It is proposed that additional funding of the $32,156 be allocated from the BC Resort Municipality Initiative funding, and the project will be funded solely by Resort Municipality Initiative funding. The recommendation from staff is that the Cox Bay Maltby Washroom construction contract be awarded to Don McGuinness Contracting based on their submitted price of $690,999 plus applicable GST, and that the 2023 to 2027 financial plan be amended to increase the Cox Bay Washroom project budget by $32,156, and that this amount be funded by RMI. And that is all.
Super. Thank you, Mr. Staley.
You are welcome.
Now I'm just going to ask you to hold on for a sec and see if council has any questions for clarity for you before we move on to see if council has any comments. And then we'll go to the recommendation. Councilor McMaster.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm not sure whether it's just the schematic, but is the building washroom actually on a raised platform as shown?
Sorry, yes, it will be built up slightly.
So will there be a ramp for accessibility for the people that have mobility challenges?
Yeah, there will be no, I don't believe there will be a need for stairs and ramp. It'll just be, it should just go straight to the level of the parking lot as is.
Okay.
So that large step that you see in that photo will not be a part of the washroom.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McMaster. Any other further comments, questions, comments? All right, seeing none, would somebody like to make this motion? Recommendation.
I can read
Go ahead,
that
Councilor
out.
Anderson. Go ahead.
I'll move that the Cox Bay multi-washroom construction contract be awarded to Don McGinnis Contracting 2008 Limited based on the submitted price of $699,097 plus applicable GST at the 2023 to 2027 financial plan be amended to increase the Bucks Bay washroom project budget by $30,156, and that this amount be funded from the Resilient Municipality Initiative funding, RMI.
Second by Councillor Thomas. Any further comments? Besides, 2 thumbs up. Okay, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Thank you. Now we have 5 minutes left until 5 o'clock. Is that a suitable time to get through a couple special event permits?
I think so, Mayor Law, probably 10.2 and 10.3.
Let's try that then. We'll see if council has any objections to the first one before we move on to the second. So we have a special event permit. So we have Pacific Rim Summer Festival, and this is a report from Community Services.
There's no presentation.
Oh, there is no presentation. Okay, do we have any comments from council? Can we move right into this recommendation? Seeing that, then would somebody like to read this recommendation? Maybe this is going to take 5 minutes. Holy moly.
Okay, I'll get through then. That staff be authorized to issue a special event permit conditional to the following requirements being met for the use of the Tofino Community Hall to the organizer of the Pacific Rim Summer Festival event scheduled to be held July 2023 at 9 p.m. Provision of an approved Tofino Community Hall facility rental agreement, provision of a certificate of insurance naming the District of Tofino as additional insured, provision of an approved Vancouver Island Health temporary food service permit, provision of an event safety plan, provision of a completed municipal alcohol policy events compliance checklist, provision of an approved special event permit for the sale of alcohol from the BC Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch.
Second by Councillor Thomas. Any other comments from council? I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. If there are no comments on the following one, then perhaps Councillor Steer, you can carry on.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Mayor Law. That staff be authorized to issue a special event permit conditional on the following recommended requirements being met for the use of the Tofino Community Hall for the organizer of the Tofino Oyster Festival event scheduled to be held from November 23, 2023 to November 27, 2023. Provision of an approved hall rental contract, provision of a certificate of insurance naming the District of Tofino as additional insured, provision of an event safety plan, provision of a completed municipal alcohol policy events compliance checklist, provision of an event site plan confirming capacity limits approved by the fire chief, provision of an approved Vancouver Island temporary food service permit, and finally, provision of approved special event permit for the sale of alcohol from the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch.
Second by Councillor Anderson. Any further comments from council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed, motion's carried. Okay, at this point, we have 2 minutes until we start our public hearing. So we'll call it a sort of semi-recess, a brief recess. We can get a drink of water. So it is 5 o'clock. I'm calling the public hearing to order. And I've got a statement from the chair. I'm going to read it out. And just for clarity, public hearing is not a council meeting per se. It's got its own rules and regulations. So this is June 13, 2023, 5 o'clock. District of Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1315/2022. This public hearing is being held to receive and consider submissions regarding the proposed District of Tofino Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1315/2022, which proposes to amend the zoning of the subject property from Rural District A2 to Campbell Street Neighborhood CD Zone, CSN, to facilitate the construction of a 55-unit apartment building and 24 single-family lots on a portion of the subject property. Anyone who believes their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw will have an opportunity to be heard either by speaking directly or through a representative or by submitting written documents. No one will be prevented or discouraged from making their views known. However, it is important that speakers restrict their comments to only those matters contained in the proposed bylaw. As chair, it is my responsibility to ensure that this restriction is honored. I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. No decision will be made at this hearing. The entire proceeding will be considered by the District of Tofino Council at a subsequent meeting. Council's function today is to listen to the views of the public, not to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. However, council members may ask questions of individual speakers to clarify what is being said. There will be no debate. This public hearing is the final opportunity for the public to comment on the proposed bylaw. Council is not permitted to receive further submissions once we have closed the hearing. Documents received by council relating to the proposed bylaw are available for review in the public hearing document book that was previously available in the district office. It is again available in the council chamber this afternoon and is not to be removed. Written comments submitted during the hearing will be added to the public hearing document book. If you submitted written document comments during the notice period, you are not required to restate your views verbally today. Personal information such as names and addresses are directly related to council's consideration of the effects of the proposed bylaw and are being collected under section 26C of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Questions about how personal information will be used or disclosed can be addressed to the District of Tofino Manager of Legislative Services. To maintain order and to ensure that everyone has had an opportunity to be heard, our rules of procedure are as follows. To sign up to address council with your comment, please proceed to the podium and begin your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you are speaking on behalf of an organization or another person, please identify the name and address of that organization or person. If you are speaking from prepared remarks, we would appreciate a copy. If you are joining remotely via Zoom, open the question and answer function window in the webinar controls from your device. Click on the Ask Question tab and type in your full legal name and address. Do not type your comment. Staff member will respond and add your name to the speakers list. The chair will call upon each speaker when it is their turn to comment. Speakers joining remotely via Zoom will be unmuted for up to 5 minutes. However, your video function will not be permitted. Please limit remarks and comments to 5 minutes and to matters contained in the proposed bylaw only. So I'm going to make a little note on this. I'm going to deviate from script here just a bit, just to clarify. So please do keep your remarks pertaining germane to the application. Please do not debate previous or anybody else's comments that you may have heard at this hearing. And please refrain from referencing any other applications or matters outside of this particular application. And I'm going to hold that very strictly. So just a heads up. After everyone has spoken once, those wishing to speak again will have an opportunity to sign up again. Council members may ask questions of speakers for clarity, to clarify what is being said. However, no other replies, rebuttals, or additional submissions will be heard without the chair's permission. The council is pretty aware of that. This is not a place to debate or comment, but simply for questions. That is item 2.1. Moving on to item 2.2. This is the District of Tofino zoning amendment bylaw number 1315/2022. Item 2.2, District of Tofino zoning amendment bylaw number 1315/2022 proposes to change the zoning of the subject property from rural district A2 to Campbell Street neighborhood CD zone CSN. This change will facilitate the construction of a 55-unit apartment building and 24 single-family lots on a portion of the subject property. The amendment bylaw received first and second reading on April 12, 2022. The public hearing notice was advertised on May 31st, 2023 and June 7th, 2023, print editions of the Westerly News and posted on the district public notice board and website. Moving on to item 3, which is the District of Tofino zoning amendment bylaw number 1315/22 Woodsmere, 825 Campbell Street, Tofino, BC. And we have a report or a presentation. We do not.
There's no formal report or presentation for the public hearing. We can move on to number 4, where the master is with no sole comment.
Thank you, Mayor Law. I just wanted to provide a brief summary of the written submissions that were received by staff up until this point. They were received up until about 3:30 today. I believe they've all been forwarded to Mayor and Council for consideration, but they're also included in the public hearing document book, which is just towards the back of the room there. If there's anybody else in the room that would like to review them. In total, there were 7 submissions received by staff. 5 of those submissions were in favor of the proposal, and 2 of those submissions were not in favor of the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Thick. Now we're moving on to the list. Do we have a list of sign up? Mr. Shortwell?
We have nobody signed up for public comments currently. I will do a call if anybody both online and attendance here in the council chambers would like to make a comment to council. They can do so. You can state your name, your address, and the agenda item you're speaking to. Calling once.
You want to make a comment? He's calling for comments.
Yeah.
He's calling for
Would you
comments.
like to make a comment? Yeah. You can
State your name.
members of the lectern, and state your name. And
Yeah, hello, my name is Mike White. I'm 890 Camel Street, so I'm right across from the new subdivision. And what we're worried about more than anything is the drainage. Like everything that's done, I'm down below. So we get a lot of water coming across the street. And I noticed that when they built the Q&amp gas station, if you go there in a heavy rain, it's a nightmare, right? And so we want to make sure that however they do this, that they do the drainage properly, so the drain hits the drains and goes out and not across my property. That's the main thing I am worried about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
My name is Jeff. I'm adjacent to the property, 911 Campbell Street. And it's also kind of
Sorry, Jeff, your full name, please.
Jeff Chisholm.
Chisholm.
It's also about drainage in a sense. Behind or alongside the trailer park, there is a bog there that catches a lot of moisture. Along the trailer park boundary, 911 Campbell Street is where there's some bog. I haven't got an idea of like the full extent of it, but definitely something that I'd be concerned about.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm.
Oh, the next. Yeah, I'm Jens Kalfa. I'm
Sorry.
My apologies. We're having an issue with the microphone, so we just need a 2-minute recess to figure it out.
Okay, tell you what, why don't we actually call the actual recess? We'll call a 3-minute recess and we'll invite you back up to the lectern. So
All right, Jens Kalfa, 880 Campbell. And I am also worried about the drainage coming from the top property. A lot of things have changed on my property. I have a big river basically running down my property where there used to be a road. It's big boulders now. And I'm having to dig a whole bunch of trenches to try and navigate the water. And also already talked to somebody to put in a proper system on just my property. And it's in the $10,000 to $20,000 range for drainage on there. Yeah, and I have some pictures, but I guess that is kind of, I should have done that ahead of time. But so there's a road, yeah, with so basically a big river going in the wintertime when it's raining, pretty small little creek running through my property. Also, there's in the middle of the property, there's water somehow bubbling up from the ground, which looks like oily water coming up and kind of seeping down to the bottom of the yard. And then, yeah, also wondering if our water supply can be is sufficient to sustain those 55 units and those 24 properties, single properties. So my comment.
thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Jack Ellie, 926 Tree Frog Lane. So I don't live in the immediate area, so I don't have the same kind of comment as some of these others, but my position is more general, as coming from what I think would be important for the whole community. And I think this kind of development is very much what Tofino needs a lot of. Housing is very difficult to come by in this community. And this satisfies what I think is a great need. The density, I think, is appropriate. Anyways, I just wanted to put my support behind this. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Next.
Hi, Mike Hogan, 1294 Pacific Rim Highway. I just, one of the questions I had has already been addressed. Where is the water going to come from? And also, what's, there's rental units up there, but what's to stop anybody from buying 10 units and putting them up for rent at whatever they can get? Are there any restrictions in that regard? Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn White, 890 Campbell Street. Regarding drainage, 3 of my immediate neighbors within 5 properties couldn't make it tonight, and they all voiced their concern about drainage as well.
Can you, do you have their names and addresses as well?
Yeah, I can get them to you. Yes. Margaret Ray Arthur. She's immediately next door. What's 900? 900. Finn McClory. Right next to you, right?
No, he's 2 down.
2 down. Ralph Tillman.
Ralph Tillman is 840. 860, Ralph Tillman, 860. And Margaret Ray Arthur,
She's 900.
900.
Yeah.
Okay, super, thanks.
As a woman.
If you can,
No, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I just want to recap there. Your comment was drainage?
Drainage.
Drainage, okay, and also for those 3 properties beside. Thank you. Thank you. Next, else, public hearing. Please state your name, address, full name, address, and keep it.
Harold Sadler, 1101 Fellowship Drive. Did I cover it all? Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to be in support of the project, provided things are done properly. And that due diligence is paid, saying to drainage and all these kinds of things. But I do think private development, private operation of rentals and private lots for sale is just a really, really good thing. We really need it. So find the water, get the drainage solved, and get her done. Because boy, does this town need it. That's my, thank you.
Mr. Sadler?
Wayne Dalby, 830 Campbell. Drainage, I've already have problems with flooding. I've hopefully resolved them this last winter. And the water supply are my 2 concerns. I also support the project because we do need more places to live. One question, I don't know the answer questions, is we need places. People are always looking for places to stay. People knock on my door asking me if I have a room to rent. I think I heard you say that the second reading was over a year ago, and here we are just only now. Can't things be speeding up a little bit? We need places for people to live. Let's have them faster, maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Dolby. The council doesn't answer questions at this hearing. Thank you. For comments, public comment.
Oh, that was a comment.
Andrew Sadler, 1110 Fellowship Drive. Yeah, I'd also really support the project. I'm really happy to see that there's property opportunity. For someone like myself, I grew up here and I looked to establish Tofino as my long-term home as well. And for me, the real estate opportunity, feasible real estate opportunity is really what is important to me. And real estate that is realistic to purchase as well. So, I mean, I don't have $1 million to spend on a huge property. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to be available or whatnot, but hopefully it's going to be small enough lots to actually be affordable for somebody who has a reasonably low income. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. I support that there's real estate opportunity and yeah, I really want to support there to be affordable lots. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sadler.
Hello. So I'm Maya Rothschild. I live at 911 Campbell Street, and I would be concerned about drainage for my property. There's a lot of wet spots where the proposed buildings they would be, so they're going to have to figure out somewhere for all that water to go in a way that's not going to negatively affect adjacent properties. I would also be concerned about blasting because it is really uneven piece of property, so there would probably be a lot of noise and disruption and potentially damage to homes close by, like if there's a lot of ground shaking and things like that. And also if there would be a plan to leave a bit of a buffer zone of trees between the trailer park and what they're building. Right now, there's maybe 200 or 300 meters of trees and they're all different ages and sizes. And if they start clipping some of it, I would be concerned about some of the larger trees not having any support and then falling down in the future. So hopefully they need to get a good survey to take care of all the trees so that there wouldn't be like a problem further down the road from partial clearing. And then I'm thinking there's probably going to be more meetings about this ahead or in the future, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I go ahead and support this project, because I would want to know if there were going to be something like maybe a strata rule, not allowing short-term rentals, maybe something to preserve the integrity of the community so that there's local families living there. I wouldn't want to see something like a 3-bedroom home with a 1-bedroom income suite, and then you only have one local living there, and then maybe 5 or 6 tourists staying there per night. I think that would just be too much. And I would also be concerned about potentially adding 80 vehicles onto that stretch of road with 24 single family homes, maybe with a vehicle each, and then 50 apartments. I'm not sure about that math, but you know what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a moment, Mr. Gilly.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to take up.
No, Mr. Gilly, you just have to wait for everybody else to speak first, and then I'll call for a second round.
Okay.
So let me just go through and make sure everybody else has had a chance to speak first. Then I'll note that you're on the list for the second round, which may happen momentarily. We'll see. Let's give it a chance. Anybody else for a first time speaking? Calling once, calling twice, calling thrice. Okay, Mr. Gilly, there you go. A little exercise for you.
Hey, I still live at 926 Tree Frog Lane. In looking at the information that was available on the signage on the site, and then trying to find out the some more specifics about the actual letter of the bylaw, like the zoning, what is actually in the zoning. There's kind of general references in the information, but I had to dig to find out that the what you might call the single family area with the small secondary suites attached, nightly rental, basically vacation rental activity, is prohibited explicitly. And I've talked to a number of people who didn't realize that, and I didn't realize that myself. And I just wanted to say how very much in support of that I need, or not we, well, I need it, we need it, everyone needs it, the community needs that. So again, I support particularly that aspect, but the whole thing in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, so we're on the second round. So if anybody has already spoken who would like to speak again, and now's the time to expedite the process. So I will call once.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, actually, in support of it, if everything gets done properly, and also agree that we do need housing for people in Tofino, especially like teachers and nurses at the school. I think one teacher's leaving because she can't find a house right now. So not against it, but just properly with proper drainage, water supply and everything.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say that I am in support of the project. I think it's a great idea, but you have to address some of the issues here that you brought up, I think.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
Right, I'm gonna call once. Twice. Thrice. Thank you very much. That concludes public input. So I'll move adjournment. Secretary. Us, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Thank you. Public hearing is closed. To our regular council meeting. We've got through special event permits. We're on 10.4 wildlife attractant bylaw amendments, report for community services.
Thank you. Through the chair, I don't have a formal presentation, but as council will recall, last August, council gave 3 readings to District of Tofino Wildlife Attractant Bylaw 1317 and authorized staff to submit the bylaw to the Minister of Forests for approval. The feedback from the ministry was just recently received, and they had a couple of small recommended changes to bring the bylaw in line with provincial legislation. And so those have been incorporated, but to bring those forward again, as the council would need to repeal 3rd reading of the bylaw and then reread it 3rd reading of the bylaw with the new amendments incorporated. At that time, it'll go back to the ministry for approval and then would come back to council one final time for adoption.
Any questions for staff? Comments from council?
I got a comment about the, anyways, no, I'll refrain from commenting on it. It's just taking a while to get this through with the ministry, but anyways, I'm happy to read the recommendation of.
Sure. I do have a comment.
Oh, okay.
I would have liked to see fruit clarified, but I'm gonna let it go. Because nobody's ever gonna get dinged by bylaw for fruit. Just saying. Okay, any further comments? Okay, I'm gonna leave my own observation. Hold on.
Just a quick, in terms of procedure, should the rescinded be done first and then
yes,
can it all be done at once? Do the rescinding first?
Rescinding first.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That 3rd reading, the District of Tofino Wildlife Attractant Bylaw number 1317, 2022 be rescinded.
we do have and that. I just read that. So do you want us to do two motions?
It can be read together.
It can be read together. Okay, that was good.
Just go ahead.
Okay, and that the District of Tofino Wildlife Attractant Bylaw number 131722 be revised to include a definition for domestic animals and exemptions for activities authorized by permits under the Wildlife Act.
And
that District of Tofino Wildlife Attractant Bylaw number 131722 be read a 3rd time as amended. And that
perfect.
Okay,
that's all I have. We need a second. By Councillor Sloman. Further comments to this? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. You carry on.
That a copy of the revised District of Tofino Wildlife Attractant Bylaw number 1317/2022 be sent to the Ministry of Forests for approval. The Minister of Forests for approval.
Any further comments? All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Great, thank you. Moving on to 10.5, Tofino Accessibility Committee. We have a report on legislative services. Leave it to verbal
report. I just want to recap the purpose of this report is to introduce changes made to provincial legislation to comply with Part 3 of the Accessible BC Act by establishing an accessibility committee an accessibility plan, and a tool to receive feedback on accessibility by September 1st of 2023. On June 5th, 2023, committee of the whole met, and the proposed terms of reference that's attached to this report is a summary of that discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Broad. Miss. Gosh, okay. Any comments, questions from council? Seeing none, would somebody like to read this recommendation? Councillor?
I volunteer. Okay, I'll move that pursuant to section 142 of the community charter, a select committee of council titled Tofino Accessibility Committee be established, and that the proposed terms of reference for the Tofino Accessibility Committee attached as Appendix A to the June 13th, 2023 report to council be approved, and that staff be directed to begin the open call for Tofino Accessibility Committee member applications for the months of June and July 2023.
Second by Councillor Steer. Any further comments from councillors? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Moving on, we have the annual municipal report 2022. We have a verbal report.
Thank you, Mayor Law. The 2022 annual report, I just want to summarize that it's a community requirement under the community charter, section 167. Municipalities are required to produce an annual report which states the goals and objectives for the coming year and demonstrates what progress has been made towards the preceding year's goals and objectives. There's a list of requirements which include the annual audited financial statements, a list of permissive tax exemptions, reports on the municipality service and operations, progress report on the performance of the municipality with respect to the established objectives and measures, and any other information that council deems appropriate for the annual report. Once completed, this report must be made available for public inspection, of which we've done that 14 days prior to holding this annual meeting on this report. A motion is required prior to these. A motion is required by council before we can accept questions from the public.
Thank you. It's not super flashy, but it's good reading. Lots in there, lots going on, lots of successful stuff. Maybe I'll move from the chair that members of the public wishing to ask questions or make submissions regarding the District of Tofino 2022 annual municipal report be permitted to address council. Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further comments from council? All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Yes.
I'll do a call to the public.
Yes.
If there's any members attending via Zoom that would like to make a comment regarding the annual municipal report 2022, you can do so now. You need to raise your hand via the question and answer function on the Zoom and state your name and your address. Calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times, and no questions at this point.
Super. Thank you, Mr. Shortall. And we are up and running Zoom. It's all good. Everything's great. Seeing that there is no submissions, the public, I'll move from the chair that the District of Tofino 2022 annual municipal report be received. Thomas, second. Any further comments from council? All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Okay, moving on to item 11, we've got a bunch of bylaws for adoption. Are there any comments from council on 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, or 11.4? Seeing none, would a councillor like to volunteer to read these recommendations.
Sure, I'll do it. I move that District of Tofino Water Utility Amendment Bylaw number 1213.05/2023 be adopted.
Second. Second of Councillor Anderson. Any further comments from council? I'm going to call a question. All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried.
Thanks. I move that District of Tofino Sewer Utility Amendment Bylaw number 1214.03/2023 be adopted.
Second by Councillor Anderson. Further comment from council? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried.
Thanks. I move that District of Tofino Traffic and Parking Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 1091.08/2023 be adopted.
Second. I was kind of trying to put my eyes like that to see which one to get it first. Okay. Councillor Anderson again. Seconds. Any further comment from council? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried.
One more. I move that District of Tofino Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 1271.08/2023 be adopted.
Second. Councillor Anderson, second. Any further comment from council? Calling the question, all in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion is carried. Lovely. Moving on to business initiated by council members. Do we have any external appointments, committees, any verbal reports from council members?
I'm going to yes and no. I'm going to wait ACRD board meeting tomorrow. Their West Coast committee was held last week, and there's a lot of great information, but I'll wait till the board formally adopts those recommendations from the West Coast committee, and then I'll bring it forward at our next council meeting.
Great.
Some
And
very exciting stuff.
we'll have some movement on or information on transits.
Yes.
Okay, we'll wait for that. Great. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. No unfinished business. Question period, Mr. Shortall, maybe we can send it from question period.
Thanks, Mary. Nobody currently, so I will do one final call for anybody attending via Zoom that would like to make or ask a question of council. You can do so now using the question and answer function via Zoom. You need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you're speaking to. So calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times, and no questions at this point, Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Shortall. Would somebody like to make a recommendation to move into closed session?
I will move that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to sections 90 of the community charter to discuss matters relating to 1A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. 1C, labor relations or other employee relations. 1E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements. Council considers that disclosure to reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality. 1I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. 1L, discussions with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measures and progress reports for the purposes of preparing an annual municipal report. 2B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations in the municipality and the provincial government or the federal government or both, or between the provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party.
Seconder. Steer, oh, he put his hand up. Councillor Steer, second. Any comments? All in favor? Unopposed? We are moving into closed session.